Today, the Supreme Court adding Friday as an additional opinion day this week. The High Court previously announced Thursday as an opinion day, but it will now issue opinions on both Thursday and Friday. This week will be starting at 10 a.m. Now, there are 13 cases that remain to be decided, the most anticipated being a ruling on abortion rights. And as the nation awaits the highly anticipated decision on abortion rights in America, governors and legislatures across the country are making plans for what their states will do or not do, depending on the Supreme Court's decision. I'm joined by the governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem. Nice to see you, Governor.
Hi, Greta. How you doing today?
Very well. All right, Governor. We don't know what the court's going to decide, and we expect it's going to be Friday. They'll drop that and run, but it'll be the last day of their term, probably. But tell me, if the Supreme Court says that there's no constitutional right to abortion, what is the intention of South Dakota?
Well, South Dakota already has a trigger law in place, which means that as soon as that decision comes down, it will be illegal to get an abortion in the state of South Dakota, except for to save the life of the mother. But I do anticipate that we may need to go into special session anyways, because we have some enforcement mechanisms that aren't necessarily addressed today in South Dakota law. And I believe that we have to do more to really support mothers in crisis. You know, we talk constantly about these unplanned pregnancies and the situation it puts young women in. I would like to see South Dakota really be aggressive in partnering with them and nonprofits, maybe churches and volunteers, to make sure that they do have options for health care and for support while they go through this pregnancy.
All right, you said for the life of the mother would be an exception. What about rape and incest? Would those be included as well or not?
They're not currently in the statute, but I do believe that that might be something that would come up during a special session that the legislature would like to talk about. So when I ran for governor, Greta, I talked about being the most pro-life governor in the country. I put an unborn child advocate in my staff that gets up every day to protect innocent life. But this is also a situation where South Dakota's been very bold, but we also recognize that there's more that we can look at to making sure that we really are supporting families and putting children into safe homes where they can be healthy and happy for the rest of their lives.
Governor, South Dakota has just gone through some turmoil. Its attorney general has now been removed from office. Almost 2 years ago, he's involved in a traffic accident, and someone was killed, and he's been accused, and I guess convicted in your Senate, of lying to law enforcement about it. It took 2 years to remove him from office. That seems like or almost 2 years. Why did it take so long?
I don't know, Greta. I mean, as soon as this investigation was wrapped up and I saw some of the conduct that happened that the Attorney General did during the investigation, lying to law enforcement officers, conducting a cover-up of what he did and pressuring his employees to give him information that could be used to benefit him during the investigation, I called for him to resign. And that was over a year and a half ago. Since then, he's attacked me with his office. He's opened investigations into me in retaliation. So I was so thankful to see that the legislature and that the South Dakota State Senate did the right thing yesterday, that they did impeach him. It's the first time in history that's happened in our state, and that he is removed from office now, and that he can never serve in office in the state of South Dakota as well.
Before you became governor of South Dakota, you and I used to talk all the time. You were in Congress. Now Congress is going to be dealing with the question of whether there should be a gas tax holiday or likely. If you're still in Congress, how do you vote?
Well, I think that what we need to do is evaluate the bill that comes in front of us. I never speak in hypotheticals. I'm always in favor of lowering taxes for people in the United States of America. I think that that's a good thing. What I also think is we need to ask Joe Biden if he would please step down, because every decision that he has made has raised energy costs and gas prices on the American people. Canceled the Keystone Pipeline day one, limited our ability to explore and use resources on federal lands. He's punished oil companies, and he's made us much more dependent on foreign countries. So this is a Joe Biden-created crisis. It's because of him. What is he doing to solve the problems? I thought it was so interesting how he gets up and he starts asking governors to take action when he has every tool in his toolbox to relieve the pressure that consumers are feeling, and he's doing absolutely nothing, just passing the buck again.
All right, we only have 30 seconds left. Big day tomorrow, 50th anniversary of Title IX. You agree it's a big day?
It is a big day. I've been defending Title IX for many, many years. In fact, I talk about it in my new book that's coming out next week called Not My First Rodeo. But in there, I talk about girls' sports and the fight we're having in this country right now.
And indeed, I hope we're going to have you back to talk about your book. I purposely didn't bring it up because I expect to have you back here in Washington, sitting on the set with me. Anyway, Governor, always nice to see you. Thank you very much, Governor.